richest person in recorded history wasn't a European monarch or an American industrialist. He was an African emperor who commanded so much gold that a single journey through Cairo in 1324 destabilized the Egyptian economy for over a decade. His name was Mansa Musa, and the empire he ruled reshaped the medieval world. But how did a West African kingdom amass that kind of power? Long before the rise of Mali, the Sahel served as a bustling highway of global commerce. For centuries, massive camel caravans braved the shifting sands of the Sahara, linking West Africa directly to the Mediterranean and the Islamic world. This was a sophisticated, highly competitive trade network. North African merchants traveled south carrying slabs of rock salt, textiles, books, and horses. They returned north with ivory, agricultural goods, and, above all, gold. Control over these treacherous but immensely lucrative routes meant absolute power. The Ghana Empire had dominated these exchanges for generations, but by the early 13th century, its collapse left a dangerous power vacuum. In this fragmented world, rival kingdoms and chiefdoms fought bitterly to control the flow of wealth. It was within this environment of intense rivalry and constant warfare that a small, ambitious dynasty began to assert itself. Known as the Keita lineage, these rulers quietly positioned themselves near the southern trading hubs, preparing to build an empire that would soon capture the attention of the entire medieval world. From this lineage came a leader whose name would define the birth of Mali, Sundiata Keita. Born with a physical disability that left him unable to walk for his early years, Sundiata overcame exile and political rivalry to unite a fractured coalition of Mande kingdoms. This alliance was forged to confront the rising threat of the Soso, an aggressive expansionist power led by the king Sumaoro Kante. The inevitable clash came around the year 1235 at the Battle of Quirina. On this dusty battlefield, Sundiata's forces engaged the Soso army in a decisive struggle for regional dominance. Archaeologists surveying the area have recovered iron spearheads and burn layers from this precise era, confirming the scale and violence of the confrontation. Sundiata's victory at Quirina shattered Soso power and permanently shifted the balance of wealth in West Africa. This military triumph transformed a loose confederation of merchants and warlords into a single centralized state. Sundiata claimed the title of Mansa, or emperor, and established a new capital at Niani, along the fertile banks of the Sankarani River. Strategically positioned near the gold-bearing regions of Bure and Bambuk, Niani grew rapidly, protected by natural barriers and enriched by the trade caravans now flowing directly under imperial control. This was the secure, wealthy foundation that would, generations later, allow Mansa Musa to step onto the global stage. The physical lifeblood of the empire lay in a perfect geographic imbalance. To the south, in the dense river basins of Bambuk and Bure, local miners extracted vast deposits of alluvial gold, washing river gravels with wooden pans to collect raw dust and nuggets. To the far north, within the blistering Sahara, lay the remote salt pans of Tagaza. Here, laborers cut massive 90-kilogram slabs of rock salt directly from the earth. By positioning itself squarely between these two essential resources, the Malian state created a highly organized economic funnel. The empire did not mine the gold itself. Instead, the Mansa's collectors taxed every single load of gold and salt that crossed the borders. A standardized tax of 10% turned this physical exchange into direct imperial authority. To move these goods, merchants organized massive desert caravans, sometimes numbering up to 2,000 camels. Each animal carried up to 150 kilograms of cargo. These caravans traveled along highly regulated routes, stopping at fortified oasis way stations like Tamentit and Gardams for water, rest, and protection. Through this strict control of water stops and trade routes, the Mali Empire tamed the hostile desert, turning a barren waste into a highly profitable, state-supervised highway. Imperial gold became intellectual and architectural power. Along the banks of the Niger River, the city of Djenné stood as a triumph of urban design, its neighborhoods radiating outward from colossal mud brick mosques built in the distinctive Sudano-Sahelian style. Further north, where the river meets the desert, Timbuktu grew from a dusty outpost into the intellectual capital of West Africa. Here, Mansa Musa launched a massive campaign of patronage. In 1327, he commissioned the Djinguereber Mosque, partnering with the Andalusian architect Abu Ishaq al-Sahili to combine Mediterranean design with local earthen techniques. This majestic structure became the anchor for an academic revolution. Nearby, the Sankore Madrasa expanded into a legendary center of higher learning, attracting thousands of students and scholars from across the Mediterranean. Soon, the trade in books rivaled the trade in gold. In this intellectual environment, a rich manuscript culture took root. Scribes handwrote thousands of texts on astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and law, preserving a rich body of African scholarship. These enduring libraries and clay monuments projected imperial authority through the power of knowledge, establishing Mali's place in the medieval intellectual world. In 1324, the quiet wealth of Mali stepped out from the edges of the known world and marched directly into global history. Mansa Musa, who ruled the empire from about 1312 to 1337, set out on a historic pilgrimage to Mecca. This massive expedition served two purposes: sincere religious devotion and calculated political theater. Musa traveled with an entourage of immense scale. Arab chroniclers recorded tens of thousands of soldiers, heralds, and attendants marching alongside hundreds of camels, each laden with heavy loads of pure gold. The journey across the desert was a monumental logistical feat, requiring precise coordination of water and food supplies across thousands of miles of shifting sands. As the caravan finally crested the hills surrounding Cairo, the hardship of the desert gave way to pure spectacle. Musa entered the city with an air of absolute authority, and the sheer scale of Mali's wealth became impossible to ignore. Contemporary writers described him as a ruler of extraordinary generosity, handing out gold to every court official, merchant, and citizen he encountered. For the first time, the economic weight of West Africa was displayed directly to the Mediterranean world, leaving an economic footprint that would disrupt regional markets for over a decade. The massive influx of gold permanently altered Egypt's economy. According to chroniclers Al-Umari and Al-Makrizi, the sudden oversupply devalued Cairo's gold mithqal for 12 years, causing a prolonged market depression. This spectacular wealth quickly entered European geographic imagination. In 1375, the cartographer Abraham Cresques drew Mali onto the Catalan Atlas, depicting a crowned West African emperor holding a massive golden orb. Yet, this golden era was fleeting. Following Musa's death, succession crises fractured the state, allowing the rising Songhai Empire to eventually conquer Mali's trade hubs. But the empire's true wealth survived. Thousands of scholarly manuscripts, rescued from conflict and preserved at Timbuktu's Ahmed Baba Institute, reveal a sophisticated medieval civilization built on literacy, science, and law. Mali's true legacy is found in these fragile pages, earthen mosques, and medieval maps, far outlasting speculative modern dollar estimates. Subscribe to Africa Untold for more stories of Africa's lost empires. Mansa Musa's golden legacy invites us to look beyond Eurocentric histories and remember the true scale of African civilization. His empire faded, but the intellectual and cultural foundations he built still shape our world today. To uncover more forgotten histories, subscribe to Africa Untold.